Welcome back to the Hard Truths Podcast. I am your host, Denver Biddle III. Joining me is, you know who it is, Steve Traub, my co-host. How you doing?
I'm doing good, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. This cold has finally passed, and I'm feeling great.
I love that.
So,
Just in time for the holidays.
Right? Doesn't really feel like it, but at least there's snow on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, this is it's episode 39, episode 9 of our little mini series where we are taking beginners from a one-on-one perspective, knowing absolutely nothing about real estate investing, specifically the fix and flip strategy, and walking them through the process from acquiring a property, finding a property, acquiring a property, and getting all the way to the closing table, selling the property, making that money.
Which is simply the best part. We can both agree.
Excellent segue, because that's what we're talking about today. Closing the deal, paying off the loan, getting paid. So I guess we should start with, why walking through the closing process and understanding that process is important, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's important to understand where your money's coming from and when you can expect it, certainly. Because likely you may have that money is already spent on perhaps your next project that's under contract.
True.
Or you're looking to, purchase a different home for yourself or your family or whatever the reason is, trying to get it invested, whatever that looks like. So it's important to understand the different steps involved in finally getting paid and the closing process in general. So we talked last episode about marketing your property, hopefully getting to a point that you get an accepted offer. And then what does that look like from the time that you get the accepted offer until the day that you get a check and or a wire sent to you? So simply put, this last step is the best part, right? This is what all my hard work is for. I'm successful at this point in my own mind, or I've learned a lesson along the way, or likely probably both. But it's obviously the fun part. So, misstepping certain points in this process can really delay your closing. Ultimately, you're going to incur additional costs if you're making another monthly payment or responsible for another month of taxes, whatever that may look like, or possibly could ruin the transaction in general. Because let's say, for example, a property that you're selling, a family's relocating to that property. Hey, I need to be in a property by January 15th. Sorry, our closing is delayed until February. You know what? We're going to have to find a different house. So it's important to understand the process and really what goes into it. So you have an accepted offer. That accepted offer may be cash, hopefully. Otherwise, if it's financed, obviously expect, potentially a home inspection, potentially an appraisal, depending on what that looks like. And again, if you're working with a realtor, they'll help you walk through these steps. From the lending side, assuming you have a hard money loan, it's important to communicate with your lender so you know really how much money you owe. At what point am I going to maybe owe another payment? Is there any sort of grace period for 5 days if things get delayed? Obviously, just kind of some examples. But your lender's expecting your loan balance to be paid off in full, including interest and fees. So we talked about it previously, say episode 2 or 3, but it's like, hey, important question, does your hard money lender have a early payoff penalty where, hey, you paid us off in 4 months versus 6, it's going to cost you 2%. Please don't sign up for that. But if you have signed up for that, it's important to understand what those costs are going to be associated with that. So example, in 2023, 85% of fix and flip properties experienced a delay due to incomplete paperwork and or miscommunication with the lenders. So, think about this, Denver, right? If you're selling a property, you have a hard money loan, you're communicating with your lender, right? To get a payoff, get a closing date, understand when you're going to pay it off. But who's communicating with me as your buyer and my lender? When is the appraisal scheduled? If there's an inspection, when is that scheduled? How long do you have to tell me if something on the inspection came back that then I have to fix? There's more that goes into it. So example, again, you have peeling paint on the outside of your house. It's Wisconsin. It's the middle of December. Some loans won't allow you to have peeling paint. Like FHA, for example, will make you fix that prior to closing. If you cannot fix it due to weather, you need to do a weather-related escrow. Again, that could cause a delay if you don't know the lending rules and you're not communicating with the lender. You don't know when you're ultimately going to close. So it's important, again, to work with professionals. They'll help represent you on both sides of it if needed. ultimately you don't want to take on more costs. We all can agree on that at this point, right?
Yeah.
So, and then what documents you're going to need to close the deal? Likely your ID. That's pretty much about it.
Okay,
So
there you go.
that's a great start. Hopefully you have some sort of identification.
It's beautiful.
And then you need to know who to make the check out to or send the wire. But, there's a couple kind of key people involved in the closing. There's you as the seller, right? We just talked about that. If I'm buying your house, you're the seller, I'm the buyer. It's going to be a title company making sure that when I buy your house and I give you your $100,000, that's going to be transferred over to me accordingly. And then your real estate agent, it's who's going to market the house for you as the seller, who's going to show me the house on the buying side and kind of bring the entire transaction together. So obviously multiple parties involved. We didn't even talk about the appraiser or the inspector, but there's a lot that goes into this. So understand the process, ask questions. Your steps to close your deal. You get a buyer's offer, right? You're going to review the offer, make sure you are looking at the terms, the contingencies like the inspection, the appraisal. Do I have a house to sell before I can buy your house? All right, get through that purchase agreement. There's going to be a final walkthrough to make sure I'm happy with the house as the buyer. We're going to go to closing. I'm going to sign some documents. You're going to make some money. And then the title company is going to transfer me ownership. That's the process in a nutshell.
Sounds easy.
How long do you think that process takes? And I know we've highlighted in a previous episode.
It's a good question. I don't know, 30 days.
That's great. 30 to 45 days.
Let's go.
And it can be expedited in certain situations. I'm not going to totally nerd out with this mortgage stuff any further than I already have, but
hey, go ahead, man.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It can be expedited, right? If your buyer's prepared and you have good communication, like try to close it in 21 days. My wife and I put an offer in on a house. I think our closing was like 20 days. And I was like, lender, is this possible? And he, shout out Dustin, but he said, yeah, absolutely, man, let's roll. So it's cool. If you have a good lender and the buyer's prepared, you can move a little bit quicker. Maybe avoid that extra payment, try to close by the end of the month.
Yeah.
So you as the listener, have you verified that all the contingencies are cleared? Appraisal, inspection, whatever that is, are we all set for the buyer's final walkthrough? Has anybody prepared you for that? Making sure everyone's happy. Again, I've seen some transactions where people aren't happy with the condition of the home. Maybe something, went out like a water heater or something like that in the basement needs to get replaced. Just important to, understand that time frame too. And then before you get your profits, your hard money lender is going to get paid off. They're going to provide you with a payoff statement that's going to say, here's how much you owe me if you're paid off by X date. Denver, what would you do if your closing got delayed? Say you have a payoff that's good through December 31st, but our closing's now January 15th. Would you or would you not order an updated payoff?
Yeah, I would definitely communicate with the lender. Like, yo, check this out.
Yeah. And, am I going to have another month of interest, right? Like,
yeah,
you said it was 90 grand. Now it's 91.5. I want to know that as the seller. Like, communicate, ask questions, make sure your dates are accurate. And then what happens is, let's say again, you owe me $90,000 as the lender. You get $140,000 for your house. Title company is going to cut me the check for $90K. They're going to give you the profit of $50,000 minus title fees, whatever that is. So
yeah,
it's very simple. Closing shouldn't take more than an hour, frankly. And again, it's like the best hour of your life when you get that check for all your hard work.
I can imagine.
Right. And so it's exciting. And again, just make sure that you're, when you're paying stuff off, make sure you're looking at all of the fees, right? So the lender fees, are there any prepayment fees? Hopefully not. Is there an administrative fee for us to incorporate a wire? Some lenders get charged for wires, for a wire receipt fee, say $100, they may pass that along to you. And then also, are you thinking about agent and closing fees? We had talked in a previous episode about what to prepare for agency, for fees kind of from the transaction when you're selling it. And you're talking, 6 to 10% of your sale price. Example, Wisconsin has a 3% transfer tax. So when you sell me your house for $100,000, you as the seller are paying $300 on top of everything else to transfer that over to me. I know you don't look too happy about it.
No, and it's not even my situation.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. But it's something to keep in mind, in different states, not every state's going to have the seller pay that. Some states have the buyer pay that. shout out Illinois. But the ideal situation is you just being prepared at the end of the day, like we've talked about 1,000 times. And then understanding what this is, like what is your return on your investment? So I'm going to use an example really quickly. This is a pretty simple one, but if you buy a house for cash and you pay $200,000, including your renovations, and at the end of the day, after everyone is paid, you make $240,000 or you net $40,000, your return on investment is 20%. I'll give you 200, you give me 40 back. That 40 is 20%, right? If I'm going to get a fix and flip loan, and let's say that I'm buying that house, it's 200 grand between, renovations and the loan itself, right? I'm doing $40,000 down. If I make $40,000 at closing and I've done $40,000 down, my ROI is 100%. So what we're saying here is if you were to invest $200,000 of your own funds and not take out any extra payments or any extra loans, I should say, your ROI is going to be 20% in that situation. Mm-hmm. If you take that $200,000 and you buy 5 properties in the future, $40,000 down at each property. Hey, I need 200 grand for 5 houses. Here's $200,000 back between 5 closings. Your ROI is 100%. Don't overlook this because of interest rates or points or whatever your concerns are. Other people's money is better than your own money because your own money then spreads further, allowing you to invest more and move quicker towards your goals.
Other people's money spreads further.
I'm sorry, other people's money. I apologize. So I'm not telling you to take the training wheels off the bike on your first transaction, but understand what you're getting into and how you can expand this business moving forward. So the average ROI on a fix and flip project in 2023 was 22.3%. So you invest, $200,000, you're netting back, let's call it $45,000. We're just going to do like some loose mental math.
Yeah.
Probably pretty damn close. Check me on that later. But, just understanding how you can really make your money work for you rather than over investing your own money and not really accumulating more of it as quickly as you possibly could. So avoiding just a couple common closing challenges. And I just want to highlight 2 of these very quickly: miscommunication with the lenders and last minute buyer issues, like that walkthrough, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, or a buyer that says, hey, I have $10,000 to the lender. They have $10,000. They have a family emergency. They need to spend $5,000. That could be a last minute buyer issue. The one I really want to focus on though is title issues. So this is really important. When you are purchasing a home, you want to make sure that home there's no liens on the property. So for example, if you're buying a house at auction, that house may have a lien against it.
And what is a lien again?
A lien is a mortgage or something tying money that is owed to that property. So it can be a mechanic's lien for $10,000. Hey, Denver, I put a roof on your house. You didn't pay me. $10,000 lien against your property. So it can be all sorts of different stuff. But the point of this is when you're taking ownership of the properties, make sure that title is clear. And let me be crystal clear on this. Make sure that title company that you're using is a legitimate title company. We have a client right now. I'm not going to talk about who it is. He has a lien on one of the properties he took over. He had no idea about it. The title company told him it was free and clear. He's now turning around trying to sell that property and having some serious issues. So make sure that if the closing timeline is quick between when you're purchasing, flipping, and selling, or if it's something that you think may have a lien on it, make sure you save the title work. Make sure you're working with a reputable title company. Those are extremely important. The last thing you want is a $200,000 house with a $100,000 lien you didn't know about. Cutting your profits pretty damn quick.
Yeah.
So it's the title company's job to make sure that you're taking clear title. So be absolutely positive that you are, please. All right. I think I was a little too serious there, but
no, man, it sounds like a serious issue.
It is. It really is. And we've seen some things go sideways on it and nothing pleasant about that. So
yeah.
Other than that, we want to be sure that if you guys do have real life examples, if you're considering getting into a property, you want us to take a swing at it. We would love to facilitate kind of taking your situation and talking about it in one of our podcasts. So please, if you have, a house that you're interested in or a hard money loan that you did that didn't work out for whatever reason, we would love a live example. So if you guys can just either comment on the video, or send us a message through there, we'd be happy to kind of get some more details and kind of highlight it and talk about it.
Yeah. And if you want to be on the show, man, like you don't have to be, I know it's intimidating, being on camera next to me and Steve, but you don't have to be pretty. Your voice can be annoying. It doesn't matter. Like we'll make it, we'll do some pre-production, post-production, get you right. Yeah. We want you on the show, it's best to interact with another face other than us to another voice. So again, whether you want to be here, you want to do a remote, I've seen plenty of, remote guests come on different shows and whatever.
100%.
That's really easy to do. But yeah, it's cool to hear it from, the source as opposed to looking at some details on a sheet of paper and, reading, and we'll probably miss some details. We won't fully embody the excitement or the emotion that comes from that because you went through it, we didn't. So, that'd be really cool.
We'd love to do it. Either way, we'd love to feature on a future episode. Our next episode is going to talk about post-closing and kind of how to start scaling this fix and flip business and what that looks like for you. It looks different for a lot of people, but we'll cover, a few different angles of it and see if we can give you a comprehensive view.
Yeah, and I think that's really important too, because it's, one lump sum payment is cool, but it's like, all right, well, what's next?
Retirement? No.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Retiring off 40K.
Right.
Not super possible in this economy.
You might be able to, you never know.
I don't know.
But no, in all seriousness, maybe figuring out how to scale this, how to turn this into a full-time job for you, frankly. That'd be great. You do 2 fix and flips a year, you make $80,000. Not sure where you work, but in a lot of worlds that is at or above what people will make. So
it's higher than the average, national salary?
I think the average national salary is like 50 grand?
50 to 60.
Yeah.
Something like that.
We'd love to talk about it. We will next episode. And if we don't talk to everybody prior to that, have a Merry New Year or Merry Christmas and a great New Year.
Merry New Year. Happy Christmas.
Merry New Year. All right. It's Friday. We're allowed to do that.
Exactly.
All right. Sign us off, my friend.
Well, yeah, this has been episode 39 of The Hard Truths. I'm Denver Biddle III. He's Steve Trout. We will see you guys probably in the new year. Merry Christmas.
Take care.